What is up, Level Up Nation, and welcome to the Thursday, July 1st edition of LvLUp Live, your home for gaming esports news, brought to you by OTN Media. My name is Fiasco. You can call me John, though. And that dude right next to me in that box to the left, on the left side of your screen, might be one of the hardest working people I know. In fact, he worked himself so hard, we had to push the show back a little bit today. Is the king of the courtside and the hardest man working alive, Joey. What's up, buddy?
Guys, it has been a crazy week. John and I have been so busy, just so much going on, whether it be working early, whether it be working late, just not even OTN stuff. We've been just doing real-time job stuff that's not even quite as fun in any way at all. But we're here. We made it. We're a little bit later than usual, but we have a lot to cover tonight. I'm excited, John. There's a ton happening in gaming esports. Looks like chat is starting to fill up as well over here. So yeah, it's going to be a longer show tonight, guys.
Whew, Joey, this is okay. Long show. Okay, here we go. Nation, if you're not doing so already, you need to be following the show on social media. That is on Twitter and Facebook for LvLUp Live. You can find us at LvLUp Live. That is at LvLUp Live. And while you're on the Twitterverse, make sure you give Joey a follow at Courtside King and myself a follow at Fiasco. If you need to know how to spell those, if you're watching here on Twitch, they're currently below the mugshots you're currently staring at. And if you're listening to the podcast version of the show, they'll be in the show notes for you listed below. But Joey, speaking of the podcast, did you know this show offers a podcast version? Yes, we offer a podcast version of LvLUp Live, coincidentally called LvLUp Podcast, available on Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, and Stitcher. And if you're listening to the podcast version of the show, I have one request for you, just one, and that's to leave a review and a rating on your podcatcher of choice, as those do go a long way, helping not only grow the audience, but giving us the feedback that Joey and I love so much to make this show what you, our listeners and viewers, want. So please do provide us that awesome feedback. And if you don't listen to the podcast version, you watch here live on Twitch, there is a chat. Let us know in chat live time whether you like or hate the subject we're talking about, and we'll fine-tune it from here and there. All right, Joey. I'm gonna regret asking you this question because I'm looking at our notes here. We're gonna see how quickly you can do this, Joey. In 3 breaths or less, what are we talking about today?
I got you, sir. We are talking gaming and esports on tonight's episode.
Oh, nice. Nice.
Yeah, I mean, guys, we have it all. We have acquisitions here. We have player roster moves. We have gaming leaks here and there. We have some acquisition spots being acquired in different esport leagues. Fitness partnerships, shoe partnerships. Battlefield officially has a official console, official PC provider, official peripheral provider. Never knew this was a thing for games, but hey, it's a thing tonight. We have an Xbox employee gifting himself a $10 million gift card and much, much more.
$10 million gift card. Sign me up. Jeez. All right, Joey, we have our topics. I'm going to go ahead and be honest. I need to forego this next segment because it would not mess well with my stomach. It's time for the drink of choice, Joey. I'm going to need you to carry this segment because I'm still hyped up on pre-workout from my gym sesh that did not go according to plan. I got about 45 minutes in, which is normally about half of what I do. And the pre-workout is still kicking. I feel the tingles. As good old OTN member Tater Tots said, it's running through my veins. It's like an overdose, and I am feeling the jitters. So alcohol is probably not a good idea for me right now. So I'm sticking with water. Joey, what are you having?
I am having whatever's left in my water bottle from earlier as well. I have not had time, guys, because I worked 2 extra hours today. We are just running at this point. We barely made the show work, but we're here. Unfortunately, no fancy drinks for John or I, as it's just H2O for both of us.
Got to love the water. Joey, we're doing this live. There's a lot of things in here that we need to talk about, so I don't want to waste any more time. Let's get right into it. Let's get right into gaming and esports news. Let's go.
Absolutely, John. We're going to kick things off with some roster moves. Not too many this week, but one in particular to kick things off with League of Legends. Over in the LEC, Excel is making a few roster changes ahead of their matches this week. We have Dan and Denick, the jungle and support respectively, moving down to the Academy team roster with Marcoon, and I do not know how to pronounce this. I believe it is Advienne or Advienne will be coming up to take the spots in the team, Marcoon being that jungler, Advienne the support. So a little support jungle duo switch over, 2 players moving from, we're going to say a struggling main team down to an academy team and giving a few of those academy players a try to hopefully bring some new life into that squad and hopefully a win or two as well.
I like it.
Oh, you're over there in chat. I'm like, what are you doing?
Leave me alone. I'm interacting with the fans.
Oh my gosh. Chat's already getting interesting. FaZe Clan, John, you saw this one right before the show, so we slid it in here. FaZe Clan has made the decision to remove K from the organization and have suspended Jarvis, Neekin, and I believe it's Tiquo until further notice. This is due to the players being involved in promoting a pump and dump type scheme involving cryptocurrency. Break it down for us a little bit. What happened here?
So fam, look, I'm gonna be honest with you. Taking financial advice is not a bad idea from people who are qualified to give financial advice. If you are a pro gamer and you listen to this show, I'm going to go ahead and go out on a limb. Now, go ahead and correct me if I'm wrong. I'm going to go ahead and say that maybe, just maybe, you're not the best person to give financial advice to. Now, that doesn't mean you're not fiscally responsible. It just means, you know, a couple things. One, you have a large audience. You have a lot of influence. So if you make a comment on something you are not educated about, people are going to listen and people are going to do it. That's what happens. That comes with the fame, that comes with the clout, that comes with everything, right? So if you're a part of one of the largest gaming organizations in the world that has some of the biggest influence on gamers all over the world, i.e. FaZe Clan, okay, and you go out and tell people to purchase a cryptocurrency under false pretense for a pump and dump scheme, you know, one, that kind of makes you a really crappy person because a lot of people lost a ton of money doing this. But two, I mean, you know, you have to understand the ramifications. And this is why FaZe dropped these guys from their team, their roster, if you will, of pro gamers. It's just not a good look. And Kay even came out and said, you know, in a statement, he goes, "I want you all to know that I had no ill intent promoting any crypto altcoins. I honestly and naively thought we all had a chance to win, which just isn't the case. I didn't vet any of this with my team at FaZe, and I know I should have." Look, again, it's a little too late for that. Like, these are the kind of decisions, these get-rich-quick schemes that a lot of people fall for, because who doesn't want money? You have a lot of people who just turned 18, who are 18, 19, 20, 21, etc., that listen to these pro gamers, and as soon as you say, hey, buy this, you know, cryptocurrency, people are going to do it. I mean, take a look at Dogecoin. Like, that's a prime example. It didn't cost people, you know, a ton of money. In this case, this scheme did, and I actually applaud FaZe Clan for getting rid of all these people. That is just, they have ramifications. You took your platform and harmed the reputation of FaZe Clan because, like Kay said, he did not vet it with his team at all. So, you know what? See ya.
Yeah, and stuff like that, like, not only are you impacting fans as an esport player, but really any personality out there. Like, Elon Musk has come into the news a lot recently as well. Like, anything you say involving stocks can get really dangerous and messy. One, because so many people's money's involved, so people are losing and gaining money all over the place. But the other thing is, just financially speaking, you can't tell people to go buy things or to get rid of things. Like, there's licensing that comes with that and all different things as far as, like, interacting with the market and swaying the market certain ways. Like, even if you look at all the stuff happening with, like, GameStop and AMC, like Nokia, all those little, like, stocks that really we've seen Reddit take a hold of over there with the Wall Street Bets Reddit, I think they have to go through and tag different things certain ways. They have to mention things certain ways. Like, they can say they like a stock, but they can't outright say, hey, go buy this stock. Hey, go sell this stock. because then you get into some dangerous territory. And it's not the same as something like insider trading or anything like that, but it does start to get to those lines. If you're really like someone like a FaZe employee, like a player like this who has a huge influence over people, can cause certain interactions. Now, I don't know, a few hundred or even a few thousand people around this age that is going to be looking into an esport player from FaZe, are they really going to be spending that much money? Probably not. At the same point, like, it's still impacting. That's still a lot of people moving the market here and there. It's not Warren Buffett taking out a bunch, but it's still going to make margins move here and there. So it does get dangerous, even financially and legally speaking as well. That went a little bit more financial than I was expecting, but hey, that's where we are. Gaming and esports, ladies and gentlemen. So yeah, FaZe Clan, John broke it down pretty well there. They did end up removing K again and suspending Jarvis, Nikon, and Tiquo. So we'll keep an eye on that. Further notice will be coming from FaZe later down the road. Sony has welcomed Housemarque and Nix's software into the PlayStation family this week. Congratulations. Some more funding coming to those two studios. Housemarque has a history of working on a PlayStation exclusive game. They've done quite a few games with PlayStation, most recently Returnal. It dropped in April. Got some pretty decent review scores. I have actually not played Returnal, but it's something along the lines of like an arcade horror / thriller type of game. Again, it did pretty well review-wise for those that actually pay attention to review scores. In the end, I think it's a good move. It gives another, we're going to call them an indie studio, some better funding, some better upfront talent. Recruiting will be easier now having that PlayStation name behind them as well. You have firsthand advantage to the hardware, even quicker than the other independent studios. So now that you're part of that Sony umbrella, the funding gets easier, the stress gets easier. Well, maybe it doesn't. I don't know how that all works. But then also the recruiting gets easier. So I think this is a big win for both involved. Housemarque is one of those creative indie studios, and I think having Sony behind them monetarily as well as structurally will help unlock some more of that potential. And then the other one here is Nix's. They're a Dutch company coming in, best known for their masterful porting of games. PC players, we've been telling you for over a year now, more PlayStation games are coming to PC. This is one of those big moves making that happen. In my humble opinion, this is Sony saying, hey, we want to continue to move titles to PC, and we've heard them start to say it out loud as well, but making a move like this makes it even more obvious. This is a studio most known for porting and most known for porting to PC, so you're going to begin to see some of those Sony PlayStation console exclusive games. I mean, just to name a few out there, I don't know if these ones are 100% coming, but God of War, The Last of Us, Ghost of Tsushima recently. So there are so many big titles that have been very masterful in terms of third-person action adventure games from Sony, and a lot of people want those to come to the PC platform. I think an acquisition like this, John, in my humble opinion, makes that even more obvious that it is coming.
Oh, absolutely. 100%.
Take-Two Interactive has acquired, I don't know how to pronounce this one, Dynamix, I believe is how it's pronounced, somewhere around that line. A leader in video game facial animation services. Guys, if you played Red Dead Redemption 2, if you played any of the NBA 2K games in recent years, they are the team that helped run the facial recognition in both of those games. Take-Two enjoyed working with them. Red Dead Redemption 2, I mean, that is one of the games praised for the best facial animations in all of video games right now. So being able to go out and acquire them seems like a really strong move for Take-Two, especially having stuff like NBA 2K where you can only improve play certain amounts each year. One of the big improvements from game to game is the graphic style, or at least that's what they want you to believe. Making a signing like this does make that a little bit more possible. Red Dead Redemption 2, again, already praised so highly. I think in a world where we're seeing so many acquisitions happen, Take-Two is smart locking them up here.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea. It's a great acquisition. Who doesn't love realistic graphics, especially, take 2K, for example. Like, turn back the clock 10 years ago, and the avatars in-game kind of looked like the real-life players. Now they really look like the real-life players. Like, LeBron legit looks like LeBron in 2K. It's absolutely insane. And that comes with the technological advancements that we've seen. And Dynamics is what I'm going with, is really, kicking butt in that sense. So it's a great idea for Take-Two to really hone in on that graphical advancement that they've been getting from this group prior to lock them in long-term as a part of their own organization now. I really like that move a lot.
Yeah, and it's a smart move. And we saw Epic, I think it was like Human or something was the name of the software or the company that they ended up going with. I don't have it in front of me. But a lot of people are now looking beyond just video games. You're looking at stuff like Sony, looking for someone who ports games. You're looking at something like this, where Take-Two is looking at facial-based animation. There's a lot of different things out there, and it's also going to be beyond game developers too. We're starting to see movies look more into it, and a lot of those movies adapt to video games as well as TV shows, and then vice versa, where Hollywood is looking to pick up video games. So there is money being thrown in all different directions, and I think Take-Two's being smart here, not only going for a gaming acquisition, but going for something they can build on in a few different areas. GameSquare Esports has acquired Complexity Gaming for $27 million in an all-stock transaction. No, guys, it was all stocks. It was not Xbox gift cards. GameSquare also completed a funding round led by Jerry Jones and Goff Capital. And Complexity CEO Jason Lake will continue to lead the organization, so no major organizational structure changes on that front. He will also become the global head of esports for GameSquare. So again, more integration from Complexity into GameSquare as GameSquare looks to become a bigger entity altogether, and they have big funders already. Again, Jerry Jones, a household name, being the owner of the Dallas Cowboys down there, also a huge investor in a number of other things. Complexity, not the biggest of organizations. They're not necessarily a Cloud9, a Fnatic, a G2, but they are getting up there. They're probably, I would say, a low tier 1, high tier 2 organization. They're definitely up toward that top end, and I think a move like this is going to help them get even closer to the top. Hey guys, look at this. We're moving through all this financial stuff. We don't even have to tell you to buy stocks like FaZe Clan players. We are just letting you know how it is going in the world of acquisitions. We have a couple more, and then we're going to get into more of the juicy game details that most of you come here for. But for the few who listen for financials, we've got you covered too. Over in League of Legends, once again, this one in the LEC, Schalke 04, known for struggling in the Bundesliga, has gone ahead and sold their LEC franchise spot to Team BDS for $31.54 million. For our European listeners, that's 25.5 million euros. This is the second largest League of Legends esports franchise sale in Western history. Again, guys, $31.54 million. They originally bought the slot for $10 million in US. So that is about a $20 million increase. I would say that's a pretty good investment for a couple of years, John, if you ask me. And Team BDS will take over that spot beginning in 2022.
Yeah, but that money is not going to be enough to get them back in the first division in the German Bundesliga. Spicy. Let's go.
Yikes. Yeah, they just need to have someone like a Man City or a Barcelona overpay for a few more players, and they'll be back in no time.
Or just a complete buyout of that team like Man City. You know, you got to look. Yeah, Man City.
Yeah, the oil giants.
was garbage until they were bought out. And then all of a sudden they're winning European title. No, I'm sorry. You're not winning European titles. You're winning domestic league titles. Pardon me.
I'm sorry. Where was that domestic league title? Oh, that's right. It was in Europe. We're slowly but surely moving our way.
But it's not a European title. It's not a European title. It's not.
Whatever.
It's not the
we have panels
League.
In the background. We don't have flags anymore, John. So we're going to keep going with gaming news. Overall, this seems like a big win for me. If you're Schalke, I mean, it kind of sucks that you're leaving the LEC. It sucks for the fans that have followed that team as well. At the same point, from a organization that has made it very clear that they need money right now, especially failing in the Bundesliga, they needed a way to turn investments around. This seems like a pretty good selling point if they ended up making it somewhere around a $20 million increase overall profit on the sale. So I think it's going to be a good move for Schalke in the sense that they at least get that money that they need. At the same point, again, I could see that figure growing even more over the next couple of years. With League of Legends and esports just continuing to grow at the rate it is, we're seeing crazy projections out there. It's already worth more than movies and music combined as an industry, and it just continues to grow. So Team BDS getting in here, spending a lot of money to do so, but that could increase as an investment over time as well.
And to loop this back around to what happened with FaZe Clan with bad investments, that's how Schalke got in this situation to begin with, was bad investments from their overall organization. And I'm not just talking their esports scene. I'm not just talking their soccer scene. They are a true sports club in the definition of they have multiple teams. They made a lot of really bad financial decisions. And last year, I mean, they started gutting everything. They started with the most profitable thing, which was their soccer club. And they started selling players left and right. And it still wasn't enough to get them out of that financial hole that they put themselves in. That goes to show you, you have to be smart where you invest your money. You can't, you have to live within essentially your life. Like if you're making 50K a year, you shouldn't be acting like you're making 50 million a year. You're going to go down in bankruptcy really, really quick. And that's kind of like what Schalke did here, is they were trying to live a larger life, trying to compete, but that money wasn't coming in. You add in the fact that, the pandemic hit, they didn't have fans. That's even more lost revenue. It was a recipe for disaster. And this is what happens. They have to sell everything off, and the LEC spot falls victim to it. But they do get a nice $31 million paycheck coming back to them. But again, in the long scheme of things, that's really not a lot of money for that Schalke organization.
No, for the organization for sure, but for the investment in and of itself, yes. I mean, what has this league been around for? 2 years? I think the LEC since the transition.
Correct. Yeah.
It's been something like that. Yeah. So the franchise bought for 2 years, and you end up making a $20 million profit. Overall, that's pretty good. But yeah, as John said, the grand scheme of things outside of the world of gaming and esports, it does make a bit of a dent, but not enough to completely overcome the debt that Schalke has undergone. So we'll see how that goes later on. But for now, we'll keep an eye on Team BDS as they prepare to move in after the summer split. Fnatic has partnered with Freeletics, an AI-powered fitness app, to announce the start of the Extra Mile campaign. The collaboration aims to improve the performance of gamers by implementing Freeletics' proven training methods while showing that esports has become much, much more than the cliches of playing computer games all day long. This is something we've seen a lot, and for anyone who watches, I'm going to say European or even Asian esports, outside of a lot of the American teams, you can tell that fitness has become a major factor in a lot of the different European leagues. League of Legends in particular has made it a very big part of their initiative, and many of the organizations have adopted it. So a lot of the players in their routine, you have meetings to go over your matches ahead. You have meetings to prepare for scrims. You have scrim blocks. You have like solo queue blocks to play and improve as a regular performer in and of yourself as well. But on top of that, there's scheduled gym time too. So you're getting, whether it's playing soccer games with teammates or whether it's going into an actual gym and lifting weights or doing some kind of cardio, that's being implemented into a lot of the organizations nowadays. Now, it hasn't quite been taken up as much in NA from what we've seen. Maybe at some point it will become more of a wide thing for NA orgs as well. But at least over in Europe and Asia, it has definitely started to pick up a lot more with a lot of those organizations. So I think this is another good partnership. I honestly don't know that much about Freeletics in general, but Fnatic as a brand is very big in esports. And I think this is a good way for esports as a whole to continue to push that positive image forward.
Yeah, absolutely. Physical health leads to better mental health, leads to better clarity when you play games, better thinking. When you feel good, you play good. That's anything in life. If you go to work and you feel under the weather, you're not going to be able to perform as well. Same thing if you're a gamer. If you're not feeling good, your head's in a bad spot, you can't play the game, you don't make great decisions. Now, I'm not saying you have to go to the gym, but the thing is like if you do not take care of yourself, it's hard to perform at a high level. So no one's asking anyone to go out and be a bodybuilder, but there is scientific evidence that goes to show that physical health improves mental health and will improve your clarity when it comes to focusing on a task. And in this sense, it's video games. And and Joey's right. In the European and Asian scenes, it's something that has really become something they focused on. Teams going out, working out, eating healthy, holding everyone accountable. I can say that WizDG in the NBA 2K League, they do team workouts. They go to the gym. They're very active. They have great sponsors to help them eat right as well. A lot of organizations are starting to do that. There was another great story. I'm blanking on the team who's doing it, but one of the players is a fairly large guy, and part of his goal this season is to work with his coaches and the staff to help cut weight. And they're going to document it, and it's going to be part of their series of promoting a healthier gamer lifestyle. So while it's not prevalent in North America as of yet, we are starting to see these organizations move in that direction. So I applaud Fnatic for doing this. I applaud every single organization around the world that's making physical and mental health part of their daily work, because that's the best way to get the best performance out of your players. And keeping your investment as an organization in these players healthy is probably a great idea. So there's that as well.
Yeah, and I can't speak for every team, but like Fnatic, I know has a fitness trainer on hand. They have a professional chef on hand, and they have like I think it's actually, I don't know if it's a mental health coach or a sports psychologist or what the actual role is now. They've changed it a couple times over the years, but that is something we see in a lot of different orgs as well. Plus, if you look at orgs, and I don't know if this is the case, but like Team Liquid, 100 Thieves, some of these orgs that have built their own compounds or like training centers, a lot of those do include gyms nowadays as well. So we're seeing it become more and more prevalent, whether it be paying for coaches, whether it be scheduling the time in, whether it be building that idea into the facilities that are being built as well. It's becoming more and more prevalent again in Europe and Asia, starting to make its way over to North America as well. And it's just I would say, improving the overall image of esports right now. When you look at a lot of competitions now, you're seeing a lot more like thin or muscular players out there. And again, body size doesn't really matter too much in this sense, but it is one of those things that more people are noticing as esports has become more mainstream, whether it be that mental health aspect that's talked about in esports, whether it be physical aspects, whether it be that mental game that is such a big part of esports in general. It's just becoming one of those things we're seeing more and more in terms of, I'm going to say variety, but also a little bit of a flow from one side to another in different leagues. Okay, we have a lot to cover, so we're going to keep it moving. Xbox and Nike Basketball have partnered up to unveil an exclusive LeBron James and Space Jam movie-inspired Xbox controller and sneaker bundle. John, go ahead and pull up a picture of this one. It's got that cosmic look to it overall. We've seen this partnership go back and forth a little bit. Xbox also held, I think it was like some kind of camp in New Orleans where they ended up taking submissions for a Space Jam design game, which I believe releases on Game Pass here in July. I think it's like a beat 'em up game is what ended up winning in the end. So you can play as LeBron James in this new little 2D game and beat some people up, but you could do it wearing these fancy shoes or playing with this fancy controller as well. Overall, I think the designs kind of fit the theme of Space Jam pretty well. I would have personally liked a little bit more cosmic edge to it, like some more like galaxy looking stuff. But overall, I think they came out pretty well.
Yeah, I like it. I think it looks good. Sorry, I know the transitions are a little rough today. My Stream Deck is actually not working, so I'm trying to do everything manually through OBS. Yeah, I actually think they look good. And I'm usually not one who likes really loud color block style shoes. But I actually like these. I think I'd rock the blue one more than I would rock the beige one, in you know, at least in my opinion. The controller looks great. I think this is a really cool partnership, and I really like what they've done with the design.
So keep an eye on that one. Again, if you guys want to check out that community creative Space Jam game, I believe it launches into Game Pass in July. It's also purchasable on the Xbox Store. I don't know if that's coming to PC, but I would assume it comes to PC as well. Next partnership in line is dropping in from Battlefield 2042. This is an interesting one, John, because they have named a few official sponsors of Battlefield 2042. I didn't even know that was a thing to name official sponsors of a game itself. But Xbox has been named the official console, NVIDIA the ultimate PC experience. Logitech is to ensure players have Logitech integration. Polaris to bring players the opportunity to operate authentic Polaris vehicles in-game. And then WD Black from Western Digital to ensure gamers have the best possible gaming experience. These are great. I mean, a lot of these companies are awesome. I use NVIDIA for my graphics card. I have an Xbox. I think I even have a WD Black hard drive. In the end, it just, I get it for marketing purposes, but it does feel interesting because at least to my knowledge, I don't remember anyone specifically saying we have partnerships. Like, I get the graphics card, I get the consoles, because some console is going to have to market your games. When you see material, it's going to have the Xbox logo on it for the trailers. That makes sense. NVIDIA, the same thing. You're going to see probably a few extra integrations for NVIDIA graphics cards compared to AMD graphics cards. But it feels like they just went over and beyond with naming a bunch of partners this week.
Yeah. They did a lot today. Let me see here. So I checked the box on everything here. I have, you know, my PC is powered by NVIDIA. I am literally using Logitech stuff right now. I have a Western Digital Black
hard drive,
blanking on it. Yeah,
solid state drive.
It's a solid state.
Drive.
Yeah, it's the M.2. Thank you. I'm blanking on letters and numbers here. Yeah, so I mean, that's cool and everything. I don't feel special for having these check marks off on these official sponsors. And look, I wouldn't read too much into this. This doesn't mean Battlefield 2042 is only going to operate at its best on these devices. This is purely a marketing technique. These companies know how big Battlefield 2042 is going to be. They're getting in there. They're paying money to get their names on everything. That's exactly what they want you to do. They want you to panic and go, oh, I need to go out and buy a bunch of Logitech stuff. I need to go out and buy a bunch of Western Digital stuff. Look, if you want to, you need to upgrade. I highly recommend both of them. I love them. I have them in my PC. But it's not necessary unless your computer needs the upgrade. So, you know, there you go. It's not necessary, but it's all marketing.
All marketing. Battlefield 2042. I think there will be some things beyond marketing, to be honest. I think like some of the Xbox and NVIDIA integration will be a little bit tighter than some of the competitors from what I've heard. But again, Xbox has an AMD graphics card inside of it. So take it with a grain of salt, because then you have NVIDIA also listed. But in the end, we'll see what that ends up looking like. I think it's mainly going to be marketing, but I think there will be a couple other little things here and there. I don't think necessarily content-wise, but more some of the integrations.
Oh, for sure. I mean, and that's where the G-Sync comes in for NVIDIA.
Right.
You know, definitely if they optimize it for G-Sync, then yes, having an NVIDIA graphics card is going to give you the best results. The difference between G-Sync and FreeSync for AMD, minimal. I mean, to the untrained eye, you're not going to be able to tell too much. If you're a hardcore gamer that likes the specs and everything, you're going to sit there and you're going to look at it and be like, okay, I can tell a difference. But it's not really going to be anything too massive. So don't freak out. Don't go out and buy a $500 monitor with the new and try to go for the new RTX 3080 titanium version. Also, you don't have to go freak out just yet.
Both our voices are dying tonight.
I'm so shot. It's ridiculous.
Oh, what a night, fam. What a night. OG Flavortown, welcome to chat. We've had a bunch of people popping in and out. We'll see what you think of tonight's topic, because we're going to roll into Remedy Entertainment and 505 Games. They have signed an agreement to co-publish and develop a new game with the Control franchise in mind. They're looking at developing a multiplayer game in the world of Control. John, I don't know if you ever pay attention to my recommendations, but this is one I've recommended to people a number of times. I loved Control. I ended up playing it. I actually haven't finished it yet. I don't know what you just did hand sign wise, but I'm going to have to.
I took my headphones off because I don't listen to you.
Oh my gosh. I saw it just play on multiple monitors. I was like, what just happened? Yeah, Control. It's up there for a Game of the Year for 2019. It won a number of Game of the Year awards. It's still on Game Pass for both PC and Xbox right now. I definitely recommend trying it out. It's trippy and it has some interesting controls and mechanics to it. I would label it kind of like a thriller game at certain points as well. So if you're not into some jump scares here and there, maybe stay away from it. But overall, I think it's a pretty cool game. They did a really good job with it. And I love the idea of more funding coming in, as well as them trying to adopt it to some kind of multiplayer game. We do know they're still working on single player games within that universe as well. So they can still do multiplayer off to the side of it. And I think it could be a cool experience, and an experience we don't necessarily have in today's day and age. Like, you have some good third person multiplayer experiences, obviously Fortnite being one of the bigger ones. PUBG's out there as well. So there's a number of them out there. But overall, I think there is still space for another one with the uniqueness that Control does bring to the table. So I'm curious to see what this partnership does end up becoming later down the road. One thing I did not like about this partnership, though, just to make a quick side note, is this is also the publisher that did that whole Control Ultimate Edition thing. You have to rebuy it on the new next-gen consoles to get the upgrades. So was not a fan of the way the 505 approached that, but I do like the idea of this new game coming out. Hopefully we get the Ultimate Edition without having to pay again for the upgrade.
You'll have to pay.
Most likely. Trash. Konami Digital Entertainment and Blooper Team have signed a strategic partnership agreement. Guys, I think this has been in the works for a while. I heard about this like at least 6 months ago, maybe 9 months ago. So I don't know what was going on, if they was maybe like the pre-development phase or what ended up happening. But in the end, it is now publicized, whether it was just recently signed or whether it was signed a while back. From my knowledge, Blooper Team is working on something using the Silent Hill IP that was not specified in the agreement that was shown to the public. But I believe that's what's being worked on, and I think they'll do a pretty good job with it. They recently made The Medium It was one of those first games to kind of take advantage of the next-gen hardware. It was an Xbox exclusive or Xbox and PC exclusive. And they did the same kind of thing you're seeing in Ratchet and Clank, where there's the ability to run 2 different environments simultaneously. It's some cool stuff using the next-gen console tech and as well as PCs, obviously. But I think this will be cool. I think it'll be interesting to see what they do with such a legendary horror IP like Silent Hill. And I think Blooper Team is up to the task. The medium could have used some more polishing here and there, and the story, I think it was decent overall, but there are certain points that I kind of fell off a bit. I would like to see what they can do with a story that is so rich like Silent Hill, and if they can continue to expand upon that. Whew, I need a breather. Would this be like Apex Legends with Titanfall? I don't know. OG Flavortown. I think it's going to be something along that lines for Control. I think it's going to take place in that same universe, and supposedly like Quantum Break and Alan Wake take place there as well. So they're kind of tying everything together in single player, and I would think this is something along the same lines where it's the same universe, but not directly involved with that Control IP, but I really don't know 100% at this point. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, get ready to pull out your lightsabers because we're heading into some Star Wars content. First, we're going to take a little stop off with someone who was involved in Star Wars previously, and that is Casey Hudson, former Bioware GM and Knights of the Old Republic / Mass Effect creative director. He'll be heading up the newly announced Humanoid Studios. And all we know so far from Humanoid is that they're developing an all-new IP, so there's going to be something completely fresh. Casey Hudson, though, great background. I mean, BioWare was one of those first games you could really dive into and make deep choices that impacted the rest of the way the game played out. You were able to build relationships. If you chose certain paths, some relationships would just go away completely. If you chose other paths, they could become romantic. They could become great partners. There's just so many different things that are made based on every little choice in that game. And then obviously Knights of the Old Republic being a legendary series as well. It's just, there's so much depth of fantasy behind Casey Hudson's style. It really makes me curious to see what Humanoid puts together. Okay, John, the moment you've been waiting for. Pull out the cloak, turn on the red lights. Knights of the Old Republic is getting a new Sith-focused expansion in Legacy of the Sith. John, go ahead and break it down for us. I know you got to tune into a bit of the stream today.
Let me make sure I'm clicking on the right slide here. There we go. Look at that. All right. So, fun fact, Star Wars has an MMORPG, if you didn't know, and it turns 10 this year. That is a massive milestone for an MMORPG. You know, it's going up against World of Warcraft. It's going up against Guild Wars. It's going up against Final Fantasy. There's just so many MMORPGs out there, and you know, it's interesting because you have to remember when Disney acquired the rights to Star Wars, they kind of got rid of the idea of the Old Republic. So while this is now in the expanded universe and not technically canon anymore, it is still probably one of the most played MMORPGs. You know, they have a very active player base. I believe the last article I read, it was right around 15 million players, which is decent. Not World of Warcraft decent, but still pretty darn good. So they're coming out with a new expansion called Legacy of the Sith. Really, really excited. It's going to have several new planets like most of their expansions do. Fun fact, if you are a subscriber, that means you have purchased time to play the game, which you don't have to. It is a free game. You do level faster and you get more perks if you pay the subscription, but you don't have to. If you have an active subscription, you get the expansion at no additional cost. It's really, really awesome. I love that's something that the team there does with BioWare, with Star Wars: The Old Republic. So there is that. This will be coming out in the holiday timeframe of 2021. So this is actually pretty close to being around the corner. So that's really cool. Just because I know we're crunched on time, I'll just quickly go through this real quick. The story will advance. The level cap will increase to 80. So right now the level cap's at 75. Will increase to 80. 2 new planets. What?
I was counting to 8. I just struggled.
Oh, okay.
But we got there in the end.
So it's going to pick up on the ongoing conflict between the Galactic Republic and Sith Empire. Spoiler alert, if you haven't played Onslaught, and everything else, the alliance between the Republic and the Sith Empire is completely shattered now, so it doesn't matter. We're back to hating each other. So that's gonna be really cool. It's gonna be Darth Malgus is the bad guy, if you will, on the Sith side. That the story with him is going to continue as the Sith continue to uncover new secrets within the Force. The Jedi are obviously going to try to stop them. They're introducing new combat styles, which is kind of cool. You can kind of make it a little more personable to your style. So if you're playing like a smuggler and you want to have more of like a gunslinger style, you can change that. If you're playing a tank and you want them to like hold like a heavy weapon, like it's a heavy weapon, you can choose that as well. So there's a lot of really cool things coming out there. They are slowly rolling that out per character type. So like if you're a sorcerer, if you're a guardian, if you're a smuggler, it's going to roll out over time within this next year, celebrating the 10-year anniversary. This is cool. Joey was very excited for this. There is going to be an underwater planet. The planet is going to be called Mananan. It's Manaan. Mananan. I'm blanking on how they said it on the stream, but we'll go with that. This is going to be one of the new planets. It's going to have some flashpoints, which is essentially dungeons. It looks really, really cool. You can see a lot of ships tied up to tethers, whether they're getting maintenance or fuel or whatever. It's kind of a cool screenshot. Elam is going to be another planet. It's a ruined Sith fortress. Looks really cool. Kind of looks a little evil because the Sith are awesome. So there's that as well. And this is part of the story. There's a Sith cult harvesting technology. So this is going to be a flashpoint, I believe. So this is going to be really, really cool. Shades of the Underworld. They're going to have new skins coming out, new character updates. This is one of them that you can see here. Scrolling through, improved player experience. So this is big. World of Warcraft has done this multiple times in their history. This is probably one of the bigger ones for Star Wars: The Old Republic here. They want to make sure this 10-year-old game does not feel like a 10-year-old game. So there's going to be a lot of improvements to the user interface coming out as well, something that the community has asked for quite a bit. If you are looking for an MMORPG to get into and you like Star Wars, again, this game is 100% free to play. You can download it and play it at no cost. Yes, it goes a little slower for you, but it is 100% free. Then if you try it and you say, hey, I like it, subscribe. It's actually not a bad deal. It's like $10 a month. It's even cheaper than World of Warcraft. So take a look at that. If you don't like it, hey, you can uninstall it. No harm, no foul. You didn't put any money into it. It's a really great game. I'm looking forward to this next expansion. The storyline has gotten really, really good for something that's not considered canon anymore.
Not considered canon anymore, ladies and gentlemen. As John said, though, it is free to play. So if you want to pull out your virtual lightsaber, you can do so. Hopping into that newest expansion. Did you have a release date on that by chance?
It's holiday 2021. There is no release date yet, and there's no trailer. So we really don't know what anything's going to look like. So stay tuned. But they did say they're going to be doing more updates leading up to the release in the holiday of 2021. So make sure follow them on social media. They're very good about putting that information out when they're going to be going live.
Yeah, it just feels like one of those things that we're eventually going to get some kind of like Star Wars Day from EA just because they have so many projects in the works, but who knows what they're eventually going to do. It just feels like there's a lot that hasn't been announced on that front, so it's got to come sooner enough. This next topic comes in hot and heavy. We're only going to dip our toes into it a little bit to talk about it because we don't have all the details, and there's just like thousands of accounts out there to go through. But to break it down a little bit here, indie developers have lashed out at Platform X, which we have uncovered to be PlayStation, over their store and support policies, as well as lack of clear communication. This all started with a tweet, which we've seen happen before in the games industry. Ian Gardner has come out and mentioned that he was mad at a certain company and was ready to burn some bridges over the way his indie development company, as well as a number of other development studios, have been treated recently from said Developer X, or Platform X rather. So he dives in. This is a very long tweet thread, so we're not going to read through everything. But just to break down a couple things, he's talking about how managing the games within the PlayStation umbrella is very difficult. There's a lot of money involved for any kind of marketing, And yes, marketing should cost money 100%. Should it cost $25,000 for an indie developer to put their their game up on the store as a highlight for a short amount of time? Probably not. But again, you can approach that different ways. And just comparing to like Xbox and Nintendo, it's a bit more, it's a lot more developer friendly according to these developers. But from the perspective that I've heard, it is just friendlier to work with from like the idea Xbox program. Nintendo also does a good job of highlighting it in the eShop as well. So a little bit more of that free advertisement, plus stuff like Game Pass also plays into that as well. So again, John and I are not developers. We can't dive too far into what all of this means exactly. But there is a very, very long thread. Again, if you guys want to check it out, Neon Ian is the name, NEONIAIN on Twitter. It's a giant thread. It's still being retweeted like crazy. A lot of developers are hopping on it and speaking about it. There's articles out there as well. I think Games Industry wrote a really good one summarizing a number of the points. Yeah, John has it up on screen for those live with us too. It is a giant mess, though, in summary. It sounds like, and again, I don't want to sound like PlayStation does not support indie devs, because that is not the case. They do have a pretty lucrative indie development program over there where a lot of indie developers have had quite a bit of success. But at the same point, there are a number of other indie developers who have not been treated quite as well, or maybe do not have the financial means to meet the demands of PlayStation for some of these, whether it be marketing deals. The communication has been another aspect that's been mentioned by a lot of developers, where if they're not big enough, they're not communicated with. So they'll ask something from PlayStation or whoever their contact is at PlayStation, and then they just get no reply for a long time because they're not really a big developer. They're not someone who PlayStation, I guess, just again, assuming here, they think they're going to sell very well. So if they're not going to sell very well, why am I going to give you time of the day when I have a bunch of other indie developers who are going to sell better reaching out to me? I think that's kind of what it comes down to. And I mean, PlayStation is a big brand, so it does make sense from that sense. But at the same point, you're trying to bring more indie developers to your ecosystem. Xbox is growing. Now, again, you still have a giant market share over them, but Xbox showing time and time again how indie friendly they are. Nintendo doing the same thing, and the Switch just continues to be the best selling hardware out there right now. It's one of those mistakes that PlayStation has made a couple times this year and in the last couple of years with the way they've phrased things or the way they've approached things. And this is just continuing to blow up throughout this week. And I think it's just not a good look for PlayStation right now. Anything else you want to say on this? I feel like we could spend really a whole podcast episode diving into all the stuff here.
Bad publicity and PlayStation. What goes better than those two? If you can think of a better relationship than bad press and PlayStation, feel free to tweet at us at LvLUp Live and let us know, because I am actually curious to see if there is something worse than those two. I just really don't think there is. So yeah, fun stuff. PlayStation, way to go. One of the reasons I jumped to Xbox. Not really. I'm not, like I said, I'm not a developer or publisher. So.
Oh, don't worry. We have negative Xbox stories today too, guys.
All right.
Don't worry. They're coming. They're coming. We'll roll into that one because, again, this is going to be a longer show tonight, so we're going to keep it moving. Oh, I just deleted a bullet point. Xbox employee has gifted himself a $10 million Xbox gift card. Guys, there's a lot of Game Pass subs you could buy with that one, or maybe you don't even need a Game Pass sub at that point. John, break this one down for us because it is kind of sketchy.
This is great, and I love the fact that Bloomberg is getting involved with this. Let me go ahead and pull this up here because we're gonna have a learning experience here together, family. A junior Microsoft engineer figured out a nearly perfect Bitcoin generating scheme. So there you go. It's cryptocurrency once again coming to ruin the day. So this is absolutely incredible. If you have time to check this article out, it is a little bit of a lengthy read. But is 100% worth it. So this guy, not even going to try to pronounce his name. He's from the Ukraine. He came over in 2015 to work for Microsoft, and his job was essentially to find exploits in the Microsoft store. So he was given these gift cards to use as ways to test the system to see if he could break it. Well, he got the gift cards and discovered that it was roughly like $300 altogether. That was real money, but it was unregistered. So it's not actually like recognized by Microsoft as it being a valid card, but it was still valid because it was a way to test the system. So essentially what happened, is he took these cards. He went by Vova, VOVA, and he was in his mid-20s when this happened. I believe it was started in 2017. He found a bug in the store, and he used it and exploited it to essentially make money to buy a Bitcoin. It is a very, very long article. He started generating Xbox cards in increments of $10 and $100 through this exploit. It's a 5x5 code is what it's called. So it's 5 sets of 5 numbers and letters. And essentially he could get all of them for free because his job was to find the exploits. He found the exploit and he exploited the exploit. I mean, it's, as simple as that. So he started generating $10 gift cards, $100 gift cards, and essentially it kept going and going and going. And by the time federal agents caught up to him, again, 2 years had passed. So this is like 2019 now, right? He's generated over 152,000 Xbox gift cards, totaling $10.1 million in lost revenue, essentially, to Xbox that he just pretty much sold in this Bitcoin scheme. He got sentenced to 9 years in federal prison for it. And then they literally just dive into every nook and cranny into what this guy did. 100% worth the read. If you're really interested in this, I highly recommend. You can find it on Bloomberg. It is a free article. You do have a certain amount of articles per month, but it is July 1st. So if you want to look at it and you haven't looked at Bloomberg before, great time to read through it. It is absolutely fantastic read, and definitely what not to do if you're hired to find exploits in a store. Don't exploit the exploit. Don't do it. It's bad. You'll wind up in jail.
Bad business. To see that, PlayStation issues with some indie devs, Xbox with employees selling gift cards from the inside. Messes on both sides this week, fam. There are some messes out there in the games industry. This one, now we're going to head more to some cleaner water, though. This one's still with Xbox. As of Monday, Microsoft has finished upgrading the xCloud server blades to custom Xbox Series X hardware. In addition to Android, xCloud will now be available to Xbox Game Pass Ultimate members, or subscribers rather, on Windows 10 PCs, plus Apple phones and tablets via browser across 22 different countries. So if you haven't tried xCloud yet because you didn't have an Android device, now you have the ability to jump in on your Windows 10 PC or on your Apple phone or tablet as well. So a few different options now out there. And it has gotten so much more stable since I originally tested it. Again, Xbox Series X blades are much more potent as far as just power, load times, graphic fidelity, frames per second, all of that much, much better now. Again, it's still cloud streaming, so it's not as strong as being native on your system, but it is getting much more, I'm not going to say unnoticeable, but the lag is much, much less. So unless you're playing like some kind of highly competitive game, it's really not going to affect too much. Okay, then from there, we're going to move into, there's a giant, it was kind of like an anniversary interview for Xbox/IGN's podcast this week. I believe it's Unlocked is the podcast by Ryan McCaffrey over at IGN. So just diving a little bit into this interview, not going to spend a ton of time on it. Just breaking down the main points. Phil Spencer, the head of Xbox, reiterated that they want more first-party power in the E for everyone sector, as well as geographically more diverse studios. So what that means, guys, is acquisitions will still keep coming in. There will be some kind of E for everyone acquisition. That's going to be your games like your Banjo-Kazooie, your Conker, different things like that. You'll probably also see some more diverse ones across the world as well. They have a good presence in North America. They'll probably expand maybe a South American studio, maybe some more European studios. Eventually, we will see more Asian studios under the Xbox umbrella as well. The other thing they mentioned here globally is localization. They realize it's still an issue in some countries, particularly in the farther reaches of Europe and Asia. They're still working on that, and they have plans to improve that over the next year or two. Phil Spencer, and I love just mentioning this all the time, he congratulated Sony on their new studios. That is just such a class act move. It's something we see from Phil a lot. We saw it a lot from Reggie with Nintendo. It's something I hope we see more in the industry overall, but I love when things like that happen. Then from there, IGN tried to back him into a corner with Halo, saying, hey, if Halo Infinite does not go well, is that the end of the Halo series? Phil came out and said he believes in the team and the game, regardless of how it is taken and how it's received. Halo will continue to live on for decades beyond. So that is confirmed that regardless of how Infinite is received, Halo will still be a thing, in case those of you had questions about it. A couple more things came out. He mentions xCloud giving the opportunity to not leave Xbox One players behind. So if you're on an Xbox One console, you've been like a lot of the other players out there having a hard time upgrading hardware if you're even looking to upgrade hardware. Now he's saying that xCloud will be coming to the Xbox One consoles and will allow for a bit more of a transition with the chip shortage currently going on. That's going to allow those to kind of become cloud streaming boxes once they can no longer run the games natively. On top of that, he does address the chip shortage directly. He quotes himself saying the demand for Xbox hardware was never higher than it is today. And again, this is something we've heard a lot. I think it was, I want to say it was Jim Ryan from PlayStation originally projected like this summer, and then that ended up getting moved. And now Lisa Su is saying it could be next summer. And it's just sounding more and more like no one has any idea when chips are going to be back in stock. So expect very high prices, very limited stock on consoles, high prices on graphics cards, and all of that for quite a while moving forward, guys. And then last but not least, he states that Xbox team has become a crucial part of Microsoft and now has more influence over other areas, such as the broader impact on Windows, with Satya now kind of embracing the gaming division of Xbox overall. So it was like an hour and a half interview. That's what I summed up from it. John, is there anything in particular you want to touch on with this? I think we summed it up pretty concisely, but if there's anything else that jumps out to you.
Yeah, no, I think you killed it. I mean, that was a very good rundown. I don't know. I don't know. For me, I always find it interesting when competitors compliment each other because it makes you feel like, was this genuine? Like, are you like, do you really want to congratulate Sony? Do you really want to go ahead and use your time to congratulate the competitor? I mean, yes, I understand they don't view Sony as the competitor, but still, it's just like, I can't help but think it's like a backhanded compliment. It's like, oh yes, congratulations on acquiring your one studio. Great job. We have 50 we acquired within the last 30 seconds. Congratulations. Great job.
Okay, that's such an exaggeration. I think with Phil, it is genuine, but I could see that with some other people. I mean, you could look at it from a few different angles. Like, okay, so Sony bought another studio. Now we can go buy one and not be judged as much because it doesn't look like we're being anti-competitive or something along those lines. But I really do think Phil is just a genuine person. He has a PlayStation. He's a big gamer. If I check things at like midnight, sometimes Phil will be on his Xbox gaming. So it is just crazy to see him as a gamer. And I love the fact that he is in such a high position as such an active gamer as well.
Stalker.
I know. I'm a shill. We all know it here. Big fan of Xbox. But hey, again, we've talked about PlayStation. There are many positives out there. They have a really cool showcase coming. I think it's still going to land in the summer. Not 100% sure. I think they're trying to lock down that Horizon Zero Dawn date and make sure that God of War footage is polished enough before it is shown. So eventually, once they feel comfortable with all that, it should be coming out sooner than later. Okay, John, if you had to guess, how many types of weather would you say there are? Including that giant rainstorm happening outside of our window right now?
I'm going to go with sunny, cloudy, stormy, blizzard, and natural disasters. I'm going to go 5.
Wow, natural disasters, a form of weather. You got to love it.
Yeah, I mean, whether it's a tornado, whether it's a hurricane, whether it's an earthquake.
Okay, yeah.
I mean,
okay, so we're summing that up into one category.
Yeah, it makes things easier.
Gotcha. Sandstorms, typhoons, all together, one
above.
Big natural disaster category.
Yeah.
This one's crazy, guys, and I don't quite understand it. Forza Horizon 5 has come out with a statement that they will include over 2,000 weather presets. 2,000, not 200, 2,000 weather presets. Those of you more involved in game development or who might know more about this, maybe you can break it down a bit more. Like if the sun is shining at a certain angle, a puddle might be slightly less deep, and that ends up being a whole nother weather preset. I really don't know, but 2,000 is insane to me. I thought Forza Horizon 4's weather was pretty good. That had 300. So we're looking at more than 4 times the amount of weather presets involved in their previous title, Forza Horizon 4, which was notably known for its weather in general. This is just insane to me. Like, I can't even fathom how you come up with 2,000 weather presets.
Yeah, and there's 40 gigs of your download right there in weather presets. Yeah, I mean, you're going to get everything. You're going to get cloudy. You're going to get rainy. You're going to get windy. You're going to get cloudy with a chance of meatballs. You're going to get a little bit of everything just thrown in. 2,000 weather presets? Like, What is that like? Oh, it's a clear, calm day, no clouds, winds out of the northeast. The next one's like winds out of the north. The next one winds out of the northwest. Like, is that how far we're going to break this down? Like, I mean, look, it's going to be cool. Like, who doesn't like kind of experiencing new things? 2000, it's going to take you a long time to cycle through that. And I think that's kind of cool. The graphics look amazing, and I can't wait to see what 2000 different types of weather looks like with those amazing graphics.
Yeah, I'm expecting like light drizzle all the way to monsoon with like hundreds of presets in between, like something crazy. I think we'll see like all different levels of puddles. I think we'll see with the seasonal change, because they include all the seasons as well. We're probably going to see like creeks maybe freeze over in the winter. Does that become another weather setting? I don't know. Maybe we get hail. Oh, I would love hail that actually cracks the windshield in first person view. That would be sick. But who knows? At 2000, you have a lot to play with, and I'm very curious to see what that ends up being developed there by Playground.
Joey, that's an expensive insurance claim. What are you doing? That is bad advice.
It's in game. Like, maybe they can you have to win the Horizon Festival to fix your windshield.
Yikes.
Okay,
Yikes.
I'm just saying, if we're playing with 2,000 different weather presets, there's a lot going on there, and my little mind cannot even think of 2,000 types of weather, so I might be missing something there. Or maybe it's just 2,000 storms that like run around in the sky and they eventually coincide with one another. Who knows?
Natural disaster setting. That's what I'm telling you. It's just
it sounds like the apocalypse could be coming in Forza Horizon. So make sure you buy your water at the nearest grocery store as well, guys. Get ready, grab your canned food and all that goodness, because you're going to encounter 2,000 weather presets in Forza Horizon 5. Okay, moving along, we're going to jump into some game updates and leaks over here. PlayStation has registered a domain for Ghost of Ikishima. I don't know if I pronounced that right. We know Joey learns Japanese on the show here as we go. I believe this will be a standalone game in a similar vein to Spider-Man Miles Morales. So it's not going to be like a full mainline game of the Ghost of Tsushima storyline, but it's going to be something more a little bit off to the side. It's going to be more than glorified DLC because it will be somewhat lengthy, but it's also not going to be giant like a big AAA title like Ghost of Tsushima was. Again, this is kind of speculation from my part based on what I've heard, but Ghost of Tsushima did very well. It was nominated for Game of the Year awards. Unfortunately, it did not win the biggest one. It did go to Last of Us, but I think a lot of people would have given it to Ghost of Tsushima as well. In the end, I think another game in that same, we're going to call it same vein of the IP is kind of cool. I love the way they dove into the historical, it's not really called lore in real life, but like the history of different things, as well as built upon their own unique takes on it in the fictional world. I think it's going to be really cool what they do here. So I'm excited to see what it eventually is when they eventually unveil it. Then we have Project 2021B. I know Nixia is not in chat tonight, or at least I haven't seen her pop in. I think this one could be related to Quake, though. So it comes out of Bethesda and id Software, or ID Software, rather. They've received a mature rating from the Australian ratings board. We have no idea what the title is. We just know it's under the label of Project 2021B at this point. I think this could be the newly, like, we've heard a rumor of a Quake project in the works. I've heard from quite a few people that there's a Quake project in the works. I think this could be that Quake project because it's not quite as mature as a Doom game typically pulls in. So that to me means it's most likely not Doom, unless it's something like Doom Pop and they take kind of like a Gears of War aspect to it. I don't think they go that route though. So I'm going to assume this is probably Quake.
That'd be kind of cool.
Last bit over here in our rumors section, we have, according to VentureBeat, Hideo Kojima and Microsoft have moved forward with signing a letter of intent that states the two parties intend to work out the details of a publishing agreement for a new Xbox game. Again, guys, not going to dive a bit too much into this because John and I have talked about it for multiple weeks now. It does sound like, at least according to VentureBeat, and I believe it was Jeff Grubb doing the reporting on this one, that they have moved forward and signed this agreement. From the sound of things, it's very likely to go through. Based on what Grubb was saying as well. So I expect this to be a thing. I don't know 100% what it looks like. I know both sides have already started hiring for the project. I can't think of her name, but Xbox just brought on someone to overlook the project from a cloud perspective. And then Kojima, I believe, I want to say he looked for like 21 different new employees for this project. So there's a number of signings and hirings and contract work going on here and there. So it is in the works. Is it going to be ready to announce at the Game Awards? I could see Kojima coming on stage and saying, hey, we have a new agreement, da-da-da-da. I don't think anything's going to be ready to shown for this one for quite a while. Maybe E3 of next year at the very earliest, but I don't expect anything ready unless he's been working on this for quite a while and was just looking for a publisher. Whew. Okay, the mega episode, guys. We continue. We just hit our hour mark. We have a little bit left. We're not going to go quite as long as I thought, though. We're not going to be hitting the 90-minute mark, I don't think, but who knows? Upcoming, some things to look forward to. This one came out earlier this week. The latest Smash Ultimate character to be revealed, and that's Kazuya Mishima from Tekken, has dropped earlier this week. There is one character left to be revealed. So, John, I know Tekken characters get you super excited in Smash Brothers, and I know you'd love to see another Tekken character, but assuming it's not another Tekken character, what type of character would you like to see come to Smash Brothers? Who's that IP going to be to fill out that last spot?
Pokemon. I mean, honestly, like, and please correct me if I'm wrong. I'll be honest. I don't play Smash. I don't know all the characters. Isn't Jigglypuff like the Jigglypuff and Pikachu the only two Pokemon characters? I feel like there could be more Pokemon added into this game. I think that'd be kind of cool.
There's quite a few Pokemon.
Is there? I like I said, I don't pay attention.
See, that's why John does not cast Smash Brothers, guys. No. He tried once.
Yeah, and I didn't even know the Wii Fit Trainer was a character. Like, that blew my mind. It was so bad. So bad.
I have a few thoughts here. I think Rayman from Ubisoft is one that's going to be highly considered. I think Master Chief from Halo could come in and finish the fight in Halo fashion. I also personally, and this is one that I think a lot of people would like, is Sora from Kingdom Hearts. Sora just being so really tightly tied to Disney in general with the Kingdom Hearts series, I think would be really cool to bring her and the Keyblade into, or Sora and the Keyblade into the game rather. It would be just cool. I think it's something that's been tied together for so many years, and Sora has never found really the ability to go into Smash for some reason, and it feels like that would be the perfect mix over here for Sora to come in as that final character. But again, I think Rayman would be decent from Ubisoft. I think Master Chief would make a lot of noise if he came in too. So any of those three I think would be kind of cool, but there's plenty of other ones out there that Nintendo could go with as well, whether it be another Final Fantasy character, Fire Emblem. Again, I personally would love to see something they haven't done before, something different, something unique, whether that's Sora, whether that's Master Chief, whether that's something else entirely. I really just don't want to see something like another Fire Emblem character or anything like that to really finish up. Okay, Obsidian's Grounded. Guys, if you have not played Grounded, it is a lot of fun. It's getting a new big update this week, the Shroom and Doom update. It's going to include new materials that are kind of mushroom related, go figure from the title, structures and weapons. Taming is now being included in the game. Not all the different insects are tameable yet, including the spiders that scare the crap out of me, but you can tame insects as pets, some of the smaller ones for now. Eventually, there's going to be bigger taming, and eventually they're going to add riding in as well. So it's going to get a little bit of those arc abilities coming into the game at some point. They're adding a photo mode. They're adding Xbox achievements. And I didn't post a trailer in here, John, but last but not least, they are adding a new boss, and that is the Brood Mother. If the wolf spiders didn't scare you enough, now you have an even bigger, even hairier, even more ferocious spider coming into the game.
Joey, I was leaving my house this morning, and some spider decided to make a web across my front door. If it wasn't for the light from the sun shining at the proper angle, I would have walked right into it. I have no problem in this. I do not like spiders. Spiders and I do not get along. I think they're creepy. I don't think they should exist. I know they're nature's pest control, but no, I'm good. Grounded. Look, I don't have arachnophobia. We're not going to go that far. They don't terrify me. I just choose not to associate with spiders. We'll leave it there. It's very creepy, and that was one of the things in Grounded that like really took me by surprise, was just like how creepy those spiders are. And then when I saw the Broodmother during their announcement, I saw that. I'm just like, you know what? I'm good. I really don't want to come back to Grounded now. Like, that is a big old spider. It's just, I'm good. No.
Okay, catching up on chat a little bit. OG Flavortown thinks the final character for Smash is going to be a Rabbid, kind of like we saw with that crossover of Mario and Rabbids. And Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, the game. Yes, that is practically what Grounded is. Yes. Very much right in line with that. Okay, moving on from creepy spiders that are hairy and ferocious to Quake champions. John and I are not the biggest Quake players, but we do have quite a few over here in the OTN community, or one in particular that makes it very vocal in Nixia. Quake Champions just got a new update, and that is a retro DM6 map, classic weapon skins, and more. So if you are a Quake fan out there listening to the podcast, go ahead and download that new update and go ahead and check it out and let us know what you think. Coming up for July, we have some new Xbox games with gold as well as PlayStation Plus games. On the Xbox side, you have Planet Alpha coming out July 1st through the 31st for Redemption. Rock of Ages 3 Make and Break July 16th to August 15th. Conquer Live and Reloaded from the original Xbox July 1st through the 15th. And then Midway Arcade Origins July 16th through July 31st. Again, games with gold has been very lackluster. It's almost been fool's gold the last couple times. At the same point, free games are free games. You can tell Xbox is putting most of that money of what we used to get from games with gold into Game Pass at this point, which personally as a Game Pass subscriber, I'm perfectly okay with. At the same point, a lot of these games are just like not real, like they're not that exciting to me. I like the idea of Conquer. I think Conquer is fun. Good little squirrel getting some action going on. But overall, it's not something that is really enthusing to me. It's not something that I feel the need to 100% go download every month at this point. But free is free. We don't like to turn down free. So if you're interested, go check those out. The PlayStation Plus games, one in particular stands out to me. The other two are kind of lackluster as well. For the PS5, you have A Plague Tale Innocence, which is one of my favorite games, and also up there with Control for one of my games of the year of 2019. That one's on Game Pass right now as well for both PC and console, and it's on PlayStation. So if you're on an Xbox, a PC, or a PlayStation, you really have no excuses at this point. Go play that game. It's amazing. Such a deep story. I don't want to go too much into it, but it's very, very cool. And then for PlayStation 4 users, you have Call of Duty Black Ops 4, in case you're looking for some Legacy Con action from a couple years back, as well as W2K Battlegrounds, the wrestling arcade style game coming there as well. John's so enthused by all these free games, can't you tell?
So
EA Play Live is July 22nd at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. It's going to run about 40 minutes long, guys, which kind of concerns me. I feel like EA has a lot to share, and 40 minutes is not a lot of time to do it, especially with a chunk of that being Battlefield 2042. You're also going to have a chunk being Apex Legends and Lost in Random. Other than those three games, they haven't announced what other games will be there yet. It's just simply other games to look forward to. So keep an eye out for what else they come. Again, 40-minute long show. So I hope it's less talking and more trailers or CGI trailers, gameplay trailers, whatever it is, back to back to back, so that they can cram quite a bit in there, because that is going to be a very tight 40 minutes, I have a feeling. But again, they have a lot to share, and I hope enough of it comes out in the showcase. On top of that, EA has also introduced Spotlight, a new EA Play Live series. This is going to help mitigate that 40 minutes a little bit, where they're going to have studio developers talk shop in the weeks leading up to EA Play Live. So July 8th, you have the future of FPS with Respawn and DICE. That's your Apex and Battlefield developers. July 13th is EA Originals Love Independent Studios. I don't know if they announced this because there's so much indie drama going around now or what, but that just kind of fell into that July 13th slot. And then July 19th is Madden NFL 22 All Access Scouting. Whether that's a new feature or whether that's just diving into a scouting look of what Madden 2022 is going to bring to the table, all of that is in there. So I would go ahead and assume that the games being shown outside of Battlefield and Apex will probably not be shown too much in the EA Play Live on the 22nd. This should be a way to kind of mitigate some of that time, or maybe they dive into a lot of the details in these panels, and then from there they keep it more to just showing gameplay and CGI trailers at the actual EA Play Live event. I really don't know at this point. Again, 40 minutes is tight, but I do like the idea of giving us some access to developers and their initial thoughts as well. I like the way that Xbox Bethesda did that. They had the great showcase. They showed a lot of trailers and gameplay, but then later in the week, they did have the ability to sit down with developers and talk a little bit about what was shown. Any thoughts on this, John? I know you, as a huge EA fan over there, I mean, we both play quite a few sports games. We do criticize EA when they need to be criticized for their loot box mechanics and such. But overall, I think this is a good way to kind of break it down, assuming, again, that we do get mostly trailers of some sort on that actual EA Play Live date. I like the idea of meeting with these developers and kind of breaking things down into two different segments.
Yeah, I do too. I have a feeling that we'll see a little bit of their sports titles as well. You know, we're going to see the CGI version of the in-game graphics, I think. No, I shouldn't say the CGI version of what a lot of people are going to get hyped up to think is going to be the in-game graphics for Madden, FIFA, probably not NHL. But Madden and FIFA are going to be your two big ones around the summertime, with those being the first two in the sports cycle to come out. You know, I have a feeling they're not announcing it, or they're not going to be as vocal about it because just of the amount of criticism they get, especially since a lot of these games just feel like reports of last year's with like minimal upgrades. So, as much as I love playing EA Sports titles, EA in itself is very frustrating. And when you think they couldn't do anything worse, they do. And then they surprise you with something like a Jedi Fallen Order. And you're just like, oh my God, EA, why can't you put this kind of effort into everything? And then you load FIFA back up and you're like, oh yeah, that's right. I forgot. We're not allowed to have nice things from EA. So, yeah, I mean, it's such a love-hate relationship with EA. Like, if it was like a $30 update every year to an overall standing game, that's one thing. But not a $60, $70 game you have to pay for every year, and it feels like nothing changes. That's always going to be the big complaint with EA until they fix their model, along with the ultimate teams and the loot boxes and the packs that you have to buy and the gambling that it's considered in a lot of places, the lawsuits that you're dealing with. There's so many different things wrong with EA's overall structure, but hey, obviously it's working because they're bringing in record profit. So, you know, it's frustrating. Is it going to make people quit playing those games? Probably not. Some people, yeah, but not enough to make an impact. And I think that's the biggest problem. And I think EA knows that. So I don't think they're going to give a lot away. I think 40 minutes is probably a little bit longer than I expected. For EA, I think 30 minutes or 20 minutes would probably be something that they would do. You know, show as little as possible and call it a day. That way they can't be criticized too much. I think they would rather be criticized for a smaller showcase than a larger showcase with a lot of people complaining about the titles they showed. So I don't know. It's such a love-hate relationship.
Yeah, I think we're in a really interesting spot with them in particular at the moment because you see subscriptions like Xbox Game Pass, you see stuff like Ubisoft Plus, even EA Play has their own, and on PC it's like Origin Plus or something. Overall, we're seeing subscription services become a bigger thing in gaming. So with that being said, I'm curious if we eventually see EA moving maybe to put games and titles into services sooner, like we saw. I think it was FIFA, NHL, and maybe one other game got put into Game Pass a lot sooner than it did the previous year. So does that become even sooner this next year? Do we eventually see it almost day and date coming to something like an Xbox Game Pass, like an Ubisoft Plus? That's a big question mark out there right now. Because obviously EA makes a lot of money on upfront sales, but look at someone like Xbox as well. They've gone 100% into Game Pass at this point. They're not going for that upfront sale anymore. If you want to play Halo Infinite, it's included in Game Pass. Gears 5 included in Game Pass. Forza Horizon 5 included in Game Pass. So all these new games, you still have the option to buy them outright, and EA could do the same thing. But do we see them just go to Game Pass sooner or go to these other subscription services sooner and just kind of live off of foot? Because, I mean, that's where they're making a lot of money anyway. Like, sure, you're making money up front, and it's a good chunk of money, but it's those FIFA Ultimate Team players, like our good friend Panicking Pat, that are the real reason that EA is just continuing to push out these games, because that's where a lot of that revenue comes in. It's those players who get deeply sucked into the game, who are deeply involved in that ecosystem, whether they're free to play or paid. A number of them are paid, but even the free-to-play players keep that ecosystem going. So overall, I think that's going to be something, as we see the subscription model become more and more a big major thing in the industry, that eventually we might see it become day and date. And a lot of games like Halo's another big one that we've mentioned. It's going live service. It's going to be a 10-year plan. You look at Apex Legends, it's popping off. Fortnite, obviously the best example out there, just being an absolute monster. PUBG. There's so many big live service games right now that something like a sports game from EA, again, you're going to lose that initial cost up front potentially, but you could go fully live service and find a way to reset it each year. Like John said, $20, $30 or whatever for the new season. They probably have to reset all the foot cards because that's where they're going to make most of their money anyway. And again, that's different in different games. We're just kind of referring to FIFA here because that's the biggest one. But overall, I think it's a model that they could eventually adapt with subscriptions being a bigger and bigger thing. Okay, guys, I say we're going to end under 90 minutes, so we have just a couple more topics to touch on. This next one is a big one, actually, because this has the potential. You look at the Halo esports scene right now, I would probably say it's tier 3, maybe. It's one of those scenes that's a little bit bigger than the super small scenes, but it's also not as big as even like an Overwatch League, Call of Duty, kind of in that low tier 1, high tier 2 area. As far as viewership numbers go, Halo has a lot of room to improve. With that being said, they're looking at a completely different approach going into Infinite here. They're looking at making teams a very central part. When we looked at previous Halos, a lot of it since like Halo 3 and like the good glory MLG days for those who are around then, it's been more like drop in and drop out. Similar to what we saw with Gears of War. It's not really a franchise system, but there are teams that kind of have legacy statuses, but anyone can win. If John's team, okay, Boomers, let's win or whatever, comes up and goes ahead and runs a bracket, they can move their way right in. And that's still going to be a thing in this new scene, but there's also going to be a deeper partnership program. We do have an article, and I read it at like 1 a.m. last night, so I don't have full details on it, but John and I both reread it over a little bit. So let's just talk about some of the stuff that stands out a little bit with this new up-and-coming potentially scene here. I think revenue sharing is big. Revenue sharing is huge in esports in general. Some scenes have got it right. Some scenes are still struggling to get it right. Halo is looking at that as one of the pillars moving forward into their new Infinite scene. One of the big things they're looking at is putting team skins in day and date. They haven't announced any of the teams for Halo Infinite yet. I would assume a number of them from Halo 5 carry over. Plus, from the sound of things, they've talked to a lot of big orgs as well. So maybe you get something like the Fnatic G2 rivalry eventually coming to Halo. Cloud9's already confirmed for the game. Maybe Team Liquid moves into Halo as well. So there's a number of team question marks out there. But as far as the revenue sharing, I love the idea of day and date. When it launches, we're going to have esports skins in the game that will fund the esports teams in and of themselves. I think that is a huge move forward for the game and the esports scene.
Yeah, and they're going to continue to release in-game content as well as the game continues, which is something big. Whether it's like, I mean, I would even be fine with like yearly releases of skins, like different skins that were like, oh, this is a launch day skin only available for the first year or for 3 months or something like that. Holiday themed skins as well. I mean, that's something League of Legends does incredibly well that are themed towards those esport organizations also. I think that's great. I think the broadcast revenue sharing as well, allowing teams to include their own personal sponsors in the broadcast as well. We're talking a centralized broadcast. This is like you tune in to the Riot stream. This is the example. You tune into a Riot stream and Cloud9 is sponsored by Red Bull. There's a Red Bull ad that plays on stream while Cloud9 is playing. That's an example that obviously doesn't happen. But that's essentially what they're saying here. That makes that partnership with Cloud9 in this example more lucrative because now they're going to get the exposure from being a part of the Cloud9 brand and everyone else that may not be in that ecosystem, but they're in the Halo esport ecosystem. They're watching the broadcast. They're being exposed to that as well. That increases revenue significantly for both the league and for the organization. I absolutely love that they're doing that. And I really can't think of really anyone else. I think Overwatch League does it to a point where they briefly show team related sponsors like maybe once or maybe twice when they play. So maybe that's something that they're trying to look at and see if they can build upon that with it being Halo. But I love that addition to it as well.
Yeah, I think that's a huge point to hit on. And I love your idea with the skins too. Like release a skin yearly. Give us something new from each team each year. The other thing, and John and I talk about this all the time, and Dota does it extremely well. They're really the best one at it, is the crowdfunded prize pool. Like, yes, give us a big check that's going to be a prize pool from Microsoft. Sure, I think that's great. But also add a crowdfunding element onto it like Dota does. Whether that's some kind of custom esports skin at the end of the year, maybe it's a full set of weapon skins or something. I don't know what you want to make it exactly, but give us something to fund the esports prize pool as well. Make it sick so even people that don't watch esports want to buy into it too. I love that idea. I think it's just a fun way of doing it. Or maybe even you do some kind of DLC and part of that DLC, 20% of it or whatever of DLC sales go to the esports prize pool. Whatever it ends up being, I think some kind of crowdfunding in that area would be great as well. A couple of the other things, I know they're paying for travel completely, and that's another big step forward.
Huge.
So they're covering the team and organization players' travel completely. I believe they're jumping in and helping with salaries as well, kind of like what we see with Riot Games as well. Again, that's another big step. When you look at organizations, one of the reasons they tend to falter in taking steps forward into different leagues is because they know the salaries are going to be a big hit. They know travel could be an expense depending on the scene that you're jumping into. And Halo coming out and saying, hey, we're going to bite the bullet up front. We're going to allow the revenue sharing in this area. So we're going to make less revenue up front. We're going to pay for your travel, or we're going to help subsidize your salaries. We're going to do all of this different stuff for you guys. We're going to let you have, this is crazy. They're giving access to all the teams to be making content right around the stage as matches are happening. So they're going to have live content that will be released not only from the HCS page, the Halo Championship Series, but from the actual teams themselves. They have full availability to get interviews with players, to get content behind the scenes. All of that is fully open in this ecosystem. So Microsoft, Halo, whoever you want to look at, is going to take the hit up front. They're going to take a big capital hit to make all this happen. But in turn, they're hoping that the ability to build themselves, not only as a league, but through the teams involved in the league, like your Cloud9s, like your Sentinels, trying to build that out and making the league bigger in general, makes everyone win, because that means bigger prize pools, you have bigger viewership, it's going to lead to bigger sponsors. All of this does end up benefiting Microsoft in the end, so that cap hit that they take at the beginning, similar to like selling Xbox consoles or PlayStation consoles, the console makers take a hit at the beginning. It's once you have the console in your house that they make money, whether it be an Xbox Game Pass subscription, whether it be a PlayStation game being bought. All of those are how they eventually make that revenue back up. So it looks like they're trying to almost adapt that console model to esports here to try to make it happen. I'm fascinated by this, guys. Like, seriously, I could look at this for days. Is there anything else that stuck out to you, John? So we've talked about revenue sharing. We've talked about the skins in game. We've talked about the broadcast. We've talked about the ability to have content. We've talked about travel being covered by the league. They're looking at launching in North America and Europe as well. Eventually, that is going to expand over to other regions too. But for now, those are kind of the main regions they're focusing on. I think that's smart. Try to make two regions look successful. And then once you get success actually building in those two regions, then you expand from there. I'm very curious to see what teams they got involved as well. Like, again, Cloud9's there, Sentinels is there, Envy is there. Other than those three big names and a few smaller names here and there from Halo 5, we really don't know who else they were able to go get out there.
It's going to be exciting. If you like Halo, if you're a early day adapter to esports, when Halo was massive, you're super excited for this. If you're the new generation of gamers out there, you've heard about the hype about Halo. You're about to see the hype of Halo when it comes back into the esports scene as well. It's going to be absolutely great, and I love the fact that they're thinking outside of the box. That's the biggest takeaway, is they're putting the research in. They're talking to the players that used to be involved in the Halo esports scene. They're talking with creators and people involved in the Halo community, in the fan community, if you will. They're taking a lot of that into account. That is so incredibly smart, and allowing the content creation stage side. That's huge. That's absolutely massive. That is how you can grow your brand and reach more people. I mean, who doesn't want to see behind the scenes stuff? Who doesn't want to see, the C9 perspective of what happened on stage from their own camera and so on and so forth? There's just so many things that can happen. It's really, really cool. And I really applaud them for thinking outside the box. That's like the biggest takeaway in my opinion.
Yeah, I think there's a lot. And the other thing that we didn't really touch on, but in a similar vein of what John just said, is they're also talking to other esports orgs that have avoided being in their ecosystem as well. So people who have not historically been in the Halo ecosystem, but are big orgs out there. So like your FaZe Clan, your Fnatic, your G2, your Team Liquid, these big name orgs that are in stuff like Legends and CSGO. Why are you guys not in Halo? Why are you avoiding Halo? What do you look for in esports scenes? How can we improve to maybe bring you into the scene later down the road? I think asking those questions now is very smart from the team, and I think that'll help them develop the scene as it continues to grow as well.
I wonder if they have a kibosh on promoting cryptocurrency promotions and pump and dump schemes.
Oh my gosh. Speaking of pump and dump, this one takes it to the hoop. Dave Fry of Wizards District Gaming has been named Player of the Month for June in the NBA 2K League. John, we're talking about dumping points. He continues to score like a monster, pulling in blocks, pulling in rebounds. Dave Fry does it all as a center and Player of the Month, and really a central player of the team as a whole at Wizards District Gaming. I think a very, very well-deserved spot here from Dave Fry.
Yeah, the big thing with Dave Fry is when you look at his stats are impressive. He averages a double-double. He averages almost 20 points a game, and he's pretty close to about 12 to 13 rebounds a game. In comparison, Authentic African from the Memphis Grizz, the Grizz Gaming, if you will, he is like stat-wise the best center in the league. But when you take a look at actual in-game play, Dayfry is so clutch. He is a true team player. He's a leader on the floor. He dishes the ball out. He has that great vision. He doesn't want all the glory to himself, but if he needs to step up, big blocks, massive offensive rebounds, big stops on defense. He comes up clutch. When that team needs a boost, he is there, and he has done it time and time again. The player of the week in week 5 and now player of the month in June. Dayfry absolutely 100% deserves it.
Biggity big, massive Dayfry coming up for WizDG in the NBA 2K League. As you said, John, very selfless player as well. He's able to get up and step up where he needs to, but he's also one of those players that constantly sends it back to his team. He's not taking all the glory for himself. He knows it's a team game. He knows he plays a vital role in that team, but it doesn't get done just him. He has to have his teammates there, and he continues to show that, whether it be on social media, whether it be in person. We both have had the pleasure of meeting him a number of different times. He's great. You commentate as well for WizDG currently. So overall, it's a great team, great environment. They're doing a great job over there at MSE. Pat Crossan is the head coach, just looking at the improvement of the team over the last couple of years. It's amazing to see how they've improved from the level of play that they're taking to the court, as well as how they're improving as a relationship of players off of the court as well. Dayfry being a very central focus of that.
WizDG currently 11-3, first place in the league and the Eastern Conference on a 7-game win streak. If you are not watching and you're a 2K fan or you're an NBA fan, you're absolutely missing out.
Absolutely missing out. So go ahead and check that out, guys. Again, Dayfry, WizDG, the player of the month for June. With that, we have one announcement coming at the end of the show, but first we're just going to slightly lean on over to LCS and LEC predictions and then wrap up with our announcement. Kicking things off with LEC, John, we have a number of games coming up this week. Again, some of those roster changes coming through too. If we had to pick a game of the week to look at, I think there's a couple on the radar here. In particular, for me, on day one, I really like the idea of Misfits and Mad Lions. Mad Lions being that team that won in the spring split, has come out here, looked a little bit lackluster at times, and Misfits being a team that's really surprised a lot of people so far. So I think that is a great one to watch on day one. Over to day two, what is standing out to you, sir?
Day two, I'm gonna stick on the Misfits train. I want to see them go up against G2. That is going to be a big test for them. Are they the team that on paper is taking the LEC by surprise? If they are, I expect this to be a very good game against G2.
Yeah, I think that's a great one. And one more to give out there is going to be Rogue and Mad Lions to end off the LEC weekend. These were your two finalist teams in spring. Now, again, they've shown signs of brilliance here and there in summer, and they've also shown a bunch of weaknesses here and there as well, depending on the matchup. So we'll see how the two finalists from spring end up looking head-to-head later this week. With that, we'll slide on over to the LCS, where we have a couple different days to break down over there as well for this July 4th weekend. On day one, John, what matchup is sticking out to you the most?
Oh, I should have prepped this a little bit better. Let's see here.
We're doing it live.
We're doing it live. 100 Thieves and TL. I like that one definitely stands out to me. 100 Thieves made a lot of really good moves in the offseason. Team Liquid's having some roster issues currently. It'll be really interesting to see how Team Liquid bounces back from those roster issues, and 100 Thieves, we'll see if they are for real with those roster changes. Again, they were really the only organization in that break to really do anything, and it's paying off. It's definitely paying off. 100 Thieves looks really, really good right now.
And we're going to stay fluid here in day two, going back to Team Liquid, because they will be facing off against their higher beings of Cloud9 up there in the clouds. We'll see if Cloud9 can rain down upon Team Liquid in this one, or if Team Liquid ends up taking the crown. That's always a fun matchup between the two. Nice little rivalry between the organizations. It's not as big as a Fnatic G2 or even a Cloud9 TSM, but it is one of those fun rivalries to look at, and they're both top-tier teams when they're playing on their game. We'll see what they bring to the table here on day two. And that wraps us up with day three. John, give us one more matchup to look forward to. What is going to wrap up this holiday weekend for the LCS?
July 4th, Cloud9 TSM. Let's be real here.
Cloud9 TSM. So see, we did like a little link chain.
Yeah,
Team Liquid, then to a Team Liquid matchup with a Cloud9, then a Cloud9 to a TSM. And that brings us all the way to the end of that topic. Nice little link we made there. So again, some great LEC and LCS action to keep you company this holiday weekend. Before we wrap things up, though, we do have one announcement. Jon, go ahead and break it down for us.
Oh, I'm the one that gets to do this. Cool. Awesome. So, fam, if you follow the OTN Media umbrella of things, you know that about a year and a half ago, we launched another show called Game On DC, focusing on the esports and gaming here in the DMV, the DC, Maryland, Virginia region. That's what it stands for. If you're not from this area. And it went on hiatus for a little bit. Things got busy. We had a pandemic that kind of shut down esports for a bit. We weren't really quite sure, along with the rest of the esports world, on what was going to happen. So it's been kind of in hiatus. And, with, WizDG coming back, with, the Washington Justice being back, both the leagues in full swing. Viewership is starting to pick back up for both. People are getting excited again. The world's starting to open up again. Joey and I had a conversation, started about a month ago, really, about
even longer than that, probably.
Yeah, seriously, about what we wanted to do with Game On DC, and ultimately, yes, we're going to bring it back. So Game On DC will be coming back. If you're a DMV listener, and you've been thinking to yourself, hey, where'd that Go DC show go? Well, that's where it went. So we're going to bring it back, and that's going to start next Monday, July 5th. We'll be putting out the most recent episode of Game On DC. We're really excited for it. We've been trying to find a way to bring it back for a while. That is going to cause a little bit of a shift. Okay. So right now, LvLUp is on Mondays and Thursdays. What we want to do with Game On DC is we want to give it that LvLUp treatment as well. So we're going to make that from a recorded podcast to a live show here on Twitch as well, Monday nights. I believe 8 p.m. is what we're going to go with as well. We're keeping that time slot the same. Joey shakes his head. Correct. Okay, good.
No, I think that's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if we 100% came up with a time, but yeah, I think 8 p.m. is what we're both leaning toward.
Yeah. So what we're going to do is Monday nights now on Twitch, twitch.tv/OTN Media, is going to be Game On DC at 8 p.m. It's going to be roughly a 30-minute show covering the professional esports in this area and the major esports and gaming events here in this area. We're super excited about it, especially since, Joey and I were both involved in the two biggest esport teams in this area. Joey and I have the honor of being official co-streamers for the Washington Justice. We cover WizDG as well. Joey mentioned it. I'm doing the broadcast for them. So we have those inside connections. Like, we're able to kind of see that big picture, and we're able to bring our unique perspective to you on what's happening in the DMV. So it's a really, really cool show now, with especially where we're at in our own esports career, if you will. So we're really excited to relaunch Game On DC on Monday nights, 8 p.m. here on Twitch. The live show will still be offered as a podcast version. What does that mean for LvLUp? LvLUp will move solely to Thursday nights at 8 p.m. So the show you're currently watching is going to be Thursday nights at 8 p.m. going forward, with the exception of next week. And I apologize. That's my fault. I have a broadcast at 7 p.m. for WizDG on Thursday the 8th. So it's going to be a 1 week break, or we might move it to a different night next week. I don't know. Joey and I will talk about it.
TBD. That's going to be a TBD, just like Kieran Thill says.
Follow on social media. We'll keep you guys updated. But LvLUp will move solely to Thursday nights for gaming and esports news. Monday nights will now be the new home at 8 p.m. of Game On DC, the DMV's gaming and esports news show. So we're really excited to bring that back, and we hope you guys tune in to get a little bit of a DC take on gaming and esports here in the DMV.
Yeah, and Jon, you killed it on that breakdown. I just want to mention a couple other things. So because of our unique situations involved with a lot of these teams, whether it be WizDG or the Washington Justice, DC United, and a number of other scenes in their teams and organizations, gaming cafes even in the area, we're going to have the ability to possibly bring on some interviews too. So whether it be coaching staff, whether it be organizational staff, whether it be actual players themselves, we'll probably look to eventually bring some of those players on more regularly too. So maybe we just get our WizDG update directly from someone like a Dave Fry, or from Andrew over there at MSC, or maybe we have Grant on for the Justice. So the ability to do that is going to be much, much easier than it was before. On top of that, we really want to make it about the fans here in the DMV area. So we're looking at some different segments that will feature fans as well. Now, does that mean they come on the show? That could be a possibility. We could look into something like that, like live on-air calls. We're looking into other ways to feature them as well. So a couple different things being discussed behind the scenes, and that will grow over time. If you guys have suggestions, we're open to those too. But we're hoping to make this more than just really on the old recorded version, and it was great, don't get me wrong, but we kind of listed out weekend events that were constantly happening in the DMV. This is going to focus more on these special events in the DMV. Stuff like your DMV Triple Crown. We're not going to mention every week that a certain gaming cafe is having like a Smash Weekly, or that a certain Fortnite tournament is happening every single week. So regular stuff like that will not be on here. It's going to be more of your bigger events that are mentioned. And then from the esports scenes themselves, we will be breaking down those matchups, previewing matchups to come and different things like that, as well as, again, giving some of those potential interview elements and things like that later down the road. So we're excited to see how it grows from here. I think it's going to be a fun we're going to say a fun experience taking it from recording to live, and what kind of doors that could potentially open as we go.
It's exciting. It's exciting. I know Joey and I we're definitely excited about it. It's something we've been wanting to bring back for a while now. So we're super excited to finally share this news with you guys. Be there for Monday, July 5th, 8 p.m. for Game On DC's first ever live show. It's going to be weird. I wonder how many LvLUp comments I'll make on that show, just because like LvLUp, it just flows. Now we'll be switching to Game On DC and Go DC and all the other fun stuff. So it'll be exciting. Be there for the experience. It'll be great. I'm really excited for the content that we have planned going forward for it.
And much shorter than LvLUp, guys. So
yes, much shorter.
If you don't like this hour to 90-minute show that we do for LvLUp, it will be much, much shorter for that one as well.
I'm ready for a nap after the show.
It was a long one tonight. We only had one episode this week, but John, I think it is time to take us into that wonderful closing.
Is it? That's perfect. You stopped and the music started because like there's a slight delay on the Bluetooth. It's amazing. Nation, enough about the Bluetooth, but that will do it for this edition of LvLUp Live. Before you go, head over to patreon.com/OTN and start becoming a part of the Overtime Network. In return, you'll get access to exclusive content that nobody else in the world can get unless they are a part of OTN Media. If you have not already done so, make sure you follow the show here on Twitch to catch the next episode of LvLUp Live. If you listen to the show on our podcast feed, first off, thank you so much for listening. And two, please do leave us a review. We would love to hear from you. In fact, we love to hear from our community so much. We have other ways for you to reach out to us. Joey, can you list me some of those ways, please?
Absolutely. We'll kick it off with Twitter. Head on over there and find the show at LvLUp Live. That is at LvLUP Live. In addition to that, you can find the umbrella company OTN Media on Twitter and Facebook at OTN Media, and on Instagram at OTN_media. Last but not least, hit us up with a follow on Twitch as well, twitch.tv/OTN Media. Again, Game On DC in that Monday slot at 8 p.m. with its debut. LvLUp on Thursdays at 8 p.m. as well. One last thing, Discord, guys. Discord.me/OTN. I just added a new Pokemon bot too. Go check it out. Come hang out, chat, games, esports, whatever you want to do. Or go catch some Pokemon, but go do so. Discord.me/OTN.
Breaking news, Joe. I hate that bot with a passion.
I freaking love that thing.
Make sure you tune in next week, potentially on Thursday, July 8th. So we cover the latest and greatest in gaming and esports news. Do your ears and eyes a favor. Hit that sub and follow button to know when the next episode of LvLUp Live is ready for your viewing and listening pleasures. We'll catch you all next week. Have a fantastic weekend. Be safe. Enjoy the 4th of July for all of our U.S. listeners and viewers out there. Be nice to your fellow gamers online as well. And as always,
LvLUp.